Hello, everybody. It's Graham and Stephen with another Wow Ergonomics. It feels like a bit of a strange week already this week, Stephen. We're not going to be playing our usual game today for anyone that's watching. I'm sorry if you've been looking forward to that. We just felt that given the current situation in the Ukraine at the moment, that people probably not necessarily in the mood for a game.
No.
At the moment. The mood certainly across LinkedIn, you can definitely see that it's very different at the moment.
Oh, just the tone of the whole thing, isn't it? You know, the usual sort of, I guess the sort of protagonists who get the whole thing sort of upbeat and get it rolling, very much of quite rightly, and you'd expect it from these people. They're professionals, but the tone of LinkedIn has very much changed, hasn't it? Which I think which is good. You know, yes, there's an element of we do have to carry on in this country. Yeah, absolutely. But there's just massive acknowledgement of what's going on, and people, I think, being really, I think, sensitive as well in terms of the content they put out there, and being quite reflective as well. So I think it's you'd expect nothing more from the LinkedIn community, but it's been a great response, not just in content, but I think, as you touched on before, Graham, some of the fantastic efforts that some of the people have done over the back end of last week and over the weekend in terms of raising money has been nothing short of phenomenal, really.
Yeah, we'll talk about that in a minute, and it has been fantastic over the weekend to see what some people have been up to. Afternoon, Mike. Yeah, question:
Mike.
Do you think there are too many virtual signalling posts at the moment? Interesting. Do you think there's too many virtual signalling posts?
That's it. Are you your area of expertise, Graham? You tell me.
I think people are in shock. So I think it's really difficult. I think it's difficult for people to know what to post. I mean, I said that myself at the weekend. I think a lot of people feel in the same situation, that they don't really know what to say or do in terms of posting. As you say, people quite rightly want to be respectful of the fact that, you know, there is a major war going on. In all honesty, not that far away.
No,
it's in Europe. You know, this is the biggest thing to hit the world, you know, other than COVID. I mean, we've been through it all. I mean, that's the other thing as well. I think, you know, you've got to remember where the world's been in the last couple of years. We've you know, the world itself hasn't come out of COVID or recovered from COVID. Certainly, yes. You know, we're heading now towards coming out of restrictions in this country, and you know, that feels like it's partly a battle won. Although, you know, COVID is still with us, and we're going to continue to live with COVID. But I guess just for a lot of people, it just feels like, you know, it's one thing after another to some extent. And, you know, I mean, let's not forget, it was Brexit, then it was COVID, now it is this. It all feels a little bit difficult. Anyway,
it's got so many sort of tentacles, hasn't it, this whole thing? Because, you know, people then, you know, you look at how it will impact us in this country. You know, there's going to be an impact on the economy. You know, there's people's lives that's far more important. But actually, some of these things will start to hit very close to home. There will be an impact on the economy. What was the one I read? I mean, they were talking the other week how the average household fuel bill will get to £2,000. They're saying on the back of this, you could suddenly get to £3,000. And you know, as I say, I'm talking about small, very small, insignificant in relation to what's happening in Ukraine. Very small, insignificant issues, but it will start. Whilst it might not physically be impacting us on these shores, there will start to be some sort of impact on our day-to-day lives from all of this.
Absolutely. Now, I'm very grateful that we've got Chris has managed to join us. Thanks, Chris, for joining us this morning.
You're so welcome. Thank you for having me.
No,
Hi, Chris.
It's a pleasure. I mean, over the weekend, we've all been following on LinkedIn what's been going on, and it's amazing the news this morning that £10,000 has already been raised.
I think it's now over 13,000
really?
through Leah's campaign, and in addition to funds that have come through elsewhere, I think we're in excess of £17,000 as I stand right now. And in terms of the need over here, and just to give the need some context, this is a country of around 2.8 million. And we have now received 100,000 refugees. And as a percentage of the population, that is an insurmountable sum. Our hope is that someone doesn't call time on that number and close the borders. I think it's inevitable because this country doesn't have that sort of infrastructure. We're seeing incredible acts of kindness from the Moldovan people, which I can talk to you about. But it is incredible what we're seeing. So to receive 17,000, and we're just one NGO out here. What I hope makes us a little bit unique is that every single penny of that is converted into immediate aid, and isn't going to be financing some back office function or salaries. And that's not me being cynical. That's just the reality of life, right? But it's going to make a massive difference. And just in terms of Leah, I think now the new target's about 20,000. With 6 days to go even. So what was achieved over the weekend, like none of us really post over weekends on LinkedIn, right? It's kind of like the graveyard post, and yet the response, I said to Leah earlier that I've never been tagged so much. I've never received, it's normally me sending people friend requests because I'm desperate. And to have that level of traffic coming back just is a demonstration of how much people want to help and get involved. And hopefully that they're getting involved with us because we can pivot that support so quickly.
No, absolutely, and there was lots of people getting involved. I saw Mark Deeks was doing something as well with his amazing piano skills, etc.
It's incredible. I didn't even know who Mark Deeks was, and all of a sudden he's offering his skill sets to us, and it's just we're humbled. I said to someone earlier, I don't have any more tears, not just because of what we're seeing on the ground here and the stories, the heart-wrenching stories, but how much people are entrusting their support to us, and it just moves us. We don't take it for granted one little bit.
Well, we were just saying just before you came on that, really so many people over the weekend were also saying they just don't know what to post at the moment. They don't know what to say. They really feel lost for words about the whole situation.
Yeah. It's almost as if some people are just carrying on as normal, and that's great, but for the rest of us it's kind of like what's we talk about normal or the new normal with COVID, but what's normal look like when that people in Ukraine are just in this incredible war zone, or this devastating war zone. I mean, Thursday, when everything started, we were having breakfast, listening to bombs fall. We're 12 miles from the border between where we live and Ukraine, and apparently there's a munitions dump, and one of the first things they did was to target all the munitions dumps. But that meant that it was like thunder. It was that loud, and the windows were vibrating, and we were having breakfast. There was nothing for me more surreal. But I'm not in Kiev. I'm not in Lvov, I'm not in these Odessa, I'm not in these cities which are being targeted. And but it kind of brings it home to you feel the proximity of it. And then when you come down to the refugee center where I've been reporting a lot from, it's you see it. One of the most emotive pictures that we've taken and shared is that little girl playing with a doll in the corridor, and I know that's been used and shared a few times. And these are the victims of war. Whilst politicians make their decisions, in their leather chairs behind their wooden desks. It's costing people their lives. And so it's incumbent upon anyone that can. And I always say to people, we keep getting called heroes. We don't feel it, because for us, the real heroes are those that put aside their financial comfort and say, okay, Chris, I'm entrusting this with you, go and do something. Who's the hero in that situation? And also, I can say this now because it's public knowledge, but Maya Sandu has gone on TV. We've not seen her say this. It's been reported to us from the UK and from Romania that there is a definite concern over here that Moldova and possibly Georgia are next on the list. And I'm aware that they're trying to set up peace talks. Perhaps it's already taken place. But if not, I mean, somewhere like Moldova and Georgia, it's easy pickings because we don't have the army that Ukraine has. And so it wouldn't even be a fight, And so we're constantly, I've got to go shortly. We're constantly being asked, leave the country. But, we would rather, and this isn't me being melodramatic, but we'd rather die here than sip coffee in comfort in the UK, But what excites us most is that the people here are equipping us to make a massive impact. And for that, Graham, we're really, really grateful. We are just helping some guys at the immigration office at the moment. So I've been called to go in, and I'll just try and hang on for as long as I can. Otherwise, I can try and jump back on if you're still around.
Yeah, we're around for the next hour. Stephen, if you can, while Chris is talking, can you just bring up the map as well, just so that
we were just talking before, so I'm gonna use my limited skills here to try and bring up. Just bear with me.
Okay.
And what we're going to do, Chris, is we'll make sure that.
Can you see that now, Graham?
Yeah, I will share that.
Guys, I've got to go. I've been told off for having a camera in here.
No problem. Chris, come back on if you can, Chris. For joining me.
Okay, I will do.
Yeah,
cheers. Thank you. So we just explain where Chris was coming from. So Chris is coming from Moldova.
So Chris, I think if I remember rightly, is sort of in this. Is my cursor showing there, Graham?
Yes, it is. Yep.
Yeah, I think Chris is over this area. He was very, very close. He said 12 kilometers from the Ukrainian border. But you can see what he was talking about. If I just sort of scroll that sort of move the map around a little bit, this is where, we've heard a lot about Kiev. We hear a lot about what's going on. Here Odessa being mentioned. But very much remember, Moldova was sort of part of the previous USSR. So Chris's feelings is if they're coming from here and they go through Ukraine, you're suddenly getting into the area of Moldova. Georgia, I think, is, obviously Belarus that we hear a lot about as well. So you can see the fears that you're not, once you go to Ukraine into Moldova, you're starting to see, Croatia, Italy. All these countries are suddenly becoming very, very close into shot into all of this. So you can understand the huge fears that Chris has outlined there. That if for any reason they move through Ukraine, the feeling is Moldova will just does not have the resource to sort of stand up to these people.
No, and the fact that they're talking about they're doing peace talks now is very worrying.
Which is up here, if I remember rightly, because we hear a lot about Belarus sort of being a bit of a de facto sort of, Russian sort of partner. But, again, you're talking, I think it was somewhere around the sort of Belarus border. But again, you look where these countries are, Lithuania, Latvia, Poland, just next to Belarus. These guys are very much should be considered on the sort of the Putin side. You're bordering into Poland, you get not too far, you're suddenly getting into Germany, Czech Republic. It's phenomenal, really, as to how close it actually is in reality.
Yeah, no, absolutely. Incredibly scary. Thanks so much for Chris for actually taking the time out to join us today and tell us a little bit about that. I mean, it's a fantastic effort from everybody on LinkedIn.
But if you remember, I know we've had Chris on the show before, haven't we, Graham? He's out there doing work with, Moldovan orphans. That's what him and his wife are out there. They've gone. That's a huge task they're undertaking already. and suddenly now they're drawn into what's going on, and as he said, it's the country that's bordering next to Ukraine, I think Chris has said before, is either the poorest or the second poorest country in Europe. How are they going to be able to look after 100,000 extra, additional people? It's the worst possible country you could need to help out in terms of resources.
As you say, I mean, it's a really tricky situation as well, because as you say, the work that they out there doing, a lot of it centers around the sex trafficking industry out there as well, and trying to shut that down. But of course, on the one hand, they don't want to shut the borders. They don't want to stop these refugees from coming in. But of course, they're coming into a country where that sort of industry is rife as well. I mean, there's no easy answer here.
You'd like to think with the number of pretty much every Western nation is behind this. And I'm talking not about the Ukrainian piece, but I'm talking about the refugee piece. They have to just pump those resources into the countries like Moldova and whoever else on the border is taking the refugees, because Moldova as a country struggles to feed its own people. We've seen some of the posts that Chris has done, people who are living in very, very poor conditions. How are they going to look after, 100,000 people to them is about 3% of the population. It's not a big country. There's only 2.8 million people live there. You put another 100,000 on top of a country that's struggling. There's got to be a piece to get food, blankets, whatever it would be, has got to get to that front line in Moldova. It's so important, so important.
Chris is back. Thanks for coming back, Chris.
Sorry, guys.
No, don't worry. We were just saying.
They thought I was filming, so they had security running at me and everything. So they're happy that I carry on for a little while.
All right. Oh, that's good. Well, we were just saying, with that amount of people coming into Moldova as well, I mean, surely now is the time to actually, we as the West need to put some money into Moldova. We have to resource these countries where people can't even afford to feed themselves at the moment.
Exactly. So we've got we're in touch with a number of institutions like summer camps and other places where ordinary people are saying, look, we'll figure this out after. And like there's one camp that's got 130 people. Who's paying for that? This is just ordinary people saying, okay, I've got beds. I want to invite these people. We'll figure it afterward. And what the money is going to enable us to do is to go around to these places and say, look, we're picking up the bill. We're picking up the tab. Because 16, 17,000 and going and getting higher, it goes a long way here. It's not like the UK, it's not like London. We can make that money, we can double that money in terms of its value on the ground here. Now, you've already touched on the idea of inflation and what's happening with gas prices and electric prices. That's no different here. Those things aren't cheaper here. It's the same price. We're seeing, petrol's a little bit cheaper, but from a percentage perspective, that's increasing, and it's going to become impossible for people to live, even if they've got these jobs which pay £150 per month. And so, without support, a country that's taking in a disproportionate amount of refugees is not going to cope without intervention. And whether it's us or someone else, when we're not precious about, because we're not the beneficiary, so we're not precious about where people put their money, but we can pivot really quick, so put it somewhere, but trust who you're putting it with as well, because it's essential that this gets to the front line as quickly as possible, because we can change people's lives. No one's, we used to say when we were over here, that no child chooses to be an orphan, so let's not think too long about helping them. But these guys haven't chosen to be refugees, and we've got a choice to respond really, really quickly, whether it's £5, £10, £1,000, whatever it is. And I'm being contacted all the time by people saying, look, I want to get involved. What's that look like?
Chris, how soon or have you seen any sort of designated aid from the west of Europe actually arriving to help support you? You know, you often see images, don't you, where you see huge amounts of water and food being loaded on the back of huge planes from Bryce Norton and places like that in the UK. Is any of that, is it too early for that to have, too early is the wrong phrase, has that come through yet or not? Or
I think it is, but here's the other issue, Stephen. The airspace closed. Yeah. And so I haven't seen any on the ground, and I'm really close to everything now. And we have a network of people that are really close, and we're not seeing anything physical. All we're seeing at the moment is Moldovan people lining up to these refugee camps with clothes and toys and bedding and food. And this is the other thing. So it's the poorest country in Europe, and yet the response from the Moldovan people has been extraordinary. So people with very little are giving much. You know, I just want people with much to give a little. And if we do that en masse, then we can manage this crisis. And that's not just Moldova, that's also Poland and Romania, but we're talking particularly about Moldova, about the poorest country in Europe.
Yeah. So
they need a lot of support. But just to go back to your point, any aid will not be flown in. There's a no-fly zone. You know, we have friends that were meant to be coming into Moldova to help us tomorrow night. It's gone. It's cancelled. The closest airport, I think, is Iași in Romania, which is only about 3 hours by road. But I'm not aware, and I'm also close to the British Embassy. Naturally, you can't do what you do or we do out here without having a relationship with the embassy. But they're not at liberty to tell me everything. But I'm not aware of anything.
So what would you be expecting things to have to come in maybe by train then, over rail then, Chris, potentially, or road?
Freight.
Rail and rail,
yeah,
freight.
Yeah, freight. But then again, there's only so many pallets you can put onto on road. So a guy contacted me, a young entrepreneur called Will, contacted me over the weekend and said, I just want to send you some resources. I traditionally work with Virgin, so Virgin have supported him in the past, Virgin Freight. And I was copied in on an email from them to say, look, logistically, this is a nightmare. The best we can, thank you, the best we can hope for is, you would need 3 Arctics to fit what would have gone into a traditional cargo plane. And the best thing you can do is to charter, 3 lorries. Well, you're talking $10,000. We might as well have the $10,000 and go and support the local economy and buy blankets and buy food and buy, what's required. So it's a catch-22. If it's a government thing, fine, they're picking up the tab, but it's no good us financing stuff we can get cheaper here by having it shipped by road. You know what I mean?
And Chris, if and when as and when the money comes out to you, are you able to get what you need? Is there the supply locally for what you would need? You mentioned there blankets and food. It's there. 100%. So it's a case of us getting that cash over to you at ASA.
Yeah, I want to give you 100%. I want to give you an example as well. So we're known within the local environment. We celebrated our 1st year anniversary last Thursday. The difference a week makes. And so we're known amongst the local businesses because we support them. We're not getting things in from Amazon or anything. And that's okay. And so we, with the first batch of money that Leah sent us, we went out and started to buy prams and slippers. They wanted like simple things like slippers. We were going to businesses and they were saying, what's it for? We said, the refugees. Some businesses would just, look, take it, just take it. And this is what I mean. Extravagance has taken on a new name over here, because extravagance isn't, I'll give you the surplus, I'll give you, a percentage of something and it's not going to make a difference to me. When the guy who supplied us all the slippers, he came with this huge box and said, there you go. And I said, well, how much? And he said, no, this is my gift to the refugees. And
but that's his livelihood. That's his livelihood.
That's his business. That's his. he's a market trader. He's a market stall, and he's saying, "Oh, this is my gift to the refugees." And what the reason I'm trying to say that is people are paying a greater price here in supporting than, and that isn't to negate the fact that there is a lot of people sending a lot of money right now. So I'm not on about those that are involved. I'm just on about those that are kind of between 2 points. Whatever you do, it's not going to be as great as the people over here are doing. They're just saying, okay, whatever it takes. And that's why I think it's important also, because someone messaged me in between the calls and said, look, if I give you the money, what percentage is spent on the refugees? Well, that's an easy one. It's 100%. It's 100%. And so I think it's important because we've lost trust in charity. I tell you what, this is controversial. Do you want something controversial? What's it going to take? Another church to burn down before people, motivate themselves and we have another $1 billion? Do you know what I mean?
Yeah.
Is it going to take another church to burn down? How much more valuable are hundreds of thousands of lives? And I always come back to Notre Dame and just think, well, if we could do that to a building, what can we do for life? And going back to that precious girl playing with her whatever it was, Barbie doll, on the floor the other day. Come on, these are people's lives. If you don't trust me to convert 100%, go and trust someone else, or get in a car, drive 1,700 miles or wherever it is you're coming from, and get your boots dirty. I'm not. This isn't about building an empire for me. It's about changing lives.
What can we also learn from the resilience of the Ukrainian people as well in this situation?
Again, we were talking with some very connected friends who were showing us images coming straight out of the war zone. And now I'm not talking about images that are from some other war zone or from some other situation. I mean real pictures that are coming from real people. And there is this dogged determination and resilience that is like not on my watch. It's and I don't know how true this is, but we're hearing stories about how Russia is having its ass kicked. And it's just it's phenomenal to hear that the Ukrainian people aren't giving these guys an easy time. And a lot of the men, there's an embargo on men coming out of the country. It's rare that men are getting out of the country now because they're being turned away. And we're not talking about people who are afraid to fight, but people who just want their families to be safe are being turned back because they need every man they can. And so we're hearing some incredible stories where, the Russians are being beat back by essentially local militia. It's incredible. Yeah.
As I say, we've all sort of woken up as of last week with complete shock, and although all of the political pundits would have been talking about this for ages, saying this is coming, and maybe this has never been a shock really, in terms of where Putin's been heading. Still, I think it suddenly made us all realise, and we've just come out of one war, which is against COVID, or we're still coming out of that war against COVID around the world, and then into another war.
But just to say on this, because I wanted to make a point as well, just on this, what do you believe now? Even I, reporting from a refugee camp, someone openly messaged on one of Leah's posts to say, not one of those pictures contains a Ukrainian. We live in an age where there is so much suspicion, and I don't get upset with people, I never get angry, but I did very politely address this guy's suspicion and just said, look, what's it take? Now, fortunately, because people are approaching us and asking us to help with immigration stuff, which is why I'm here right now. I had a picture of one of their ID cards and I posted it on the stream and just said, what more proof do you want? As if I need to give you proof. But this is the age where we live right now. People don't even believe. I've heard some people to say, is it really happening? It's just like, oh, for goodness sakes. 100,000 people decided to, emigrate to Moldova. It's just a nonsense. We're seeing the reality of this in front of us every single day.
It's difficult. I mean, I posted on the whole area of the news this morning, and asked people whether they've switched back to watching the news, because the last time I polled on news watching, people said no, I don't watch the news anymore. More people are watching the news at the moment than they used to, but so many people still saying, I never watch the news, don't believe it. It's all, it's all from a viewpoint,
an agenda
of the
perspective.
media.
Yeah, exactly.
It's from an agenda, therefore I can't believe it. But, ultimately you've got to have some understanding that this is going on, And this I think is where charities moving forward have to play a part in restoring people's confidence, because people have lost confidence in charities for a reason, because there was that outcry that chief execs were being paid extortionate salaries, and still, which is a reality, that in some instances, particularly with the larger ones, that 80% is spent on raising the 20%, and that's demoralizing when you're deciding where you're going to put your hard-earned money and where's it going to have the greatest impact. And we don't do that anymore. Now we've got a reason not to, because even our cash is required, and we don't have a salary. We've not paid ourselves a penny for 12 months. And we've no plan to do that. We've got close family and close friends who said, look, we're going to ring fence what you need so you can focus on the reason you're out there. But charities play that part as well. And we've got to try, I don't know how we do it, but we've got to try and restore some credibility, because whilst people have a suspicion, it means they're not making the right decisions, which have a material impact on people, Yeah, no, absolutely. And it's, it's important that people see the positive side of these social media platforms as well.
100%.
Yes, there's so much rubbish that goes on social media. There is so much, egotistical bull, as it were. But at the same time, it's really important that people can see that, people can come together through this power of technology 100%. These days, 100%. and bring about some good in the world.
And that's what I love about LinkedIn as well. I have nothing to gain from saying this, but I think LinkedIn is almost one of the last bastions of integrity. As opposed to Instagram and TikTok and Facebook. And I hope I don't get trouble in saying this, but I don't know. There seems to be we see some of that nonsense creeping in, and we, as a community of business leaders, I think we need to try and protect the integrity of platforms and ensure for moments like this that we simply report the truth.
No, absolutely. Chris, you carry on doing what you're doing out there. How can people help?
They can go to hope4.love/donate. And how many times do I have to say this? Every single penny is pivoted immediately and is the difference between someone eating and someone not. I mean, we don't keep anything. I don't know how more I can say that. We don't keep anything. No, well, so if people support us, then we will translate that into tangible support.
Well, we're going to carry on pushing.
Thank you so much.
I mean, that's the other great thing about this as well. People are putting their own sort of agendas down as well at this end. We're, as far as I'm concerned, I don't care who pushes you on LinkedIn or who, which people post about you or whatever. Ultimately, this is the time to stop going, right, well, I was the first one to do that, or I was the first one to do that. It's not about that at the moment.
No.
Ultimately, I want as many people as possible to be giving a voice to Chris and what he's doing out there.
Thank you so much. And that's the thing, and I appreciate you saying it, Graham, and I appreciate this opportunity, Stephen. But that's the thing, if you want to do something, these are the hands that are going to do it, and do it within hours of you sending the money. What more can I say? Thank you so much.
So, well, thanks for joining us.
Thanks, Chris.
Hope the rest of your day is fruitful.
Thank you.
and that you get loads done that really makes a big difference out there.
I really
Thank
appreciate
you.
that. Thanks,
Thanks
guys.
for
Take
coming
care.
on.
Thanks,
Thank
Chris.
you. Bye-bye. Bye-bye. Bye.
What a guy.
Wow.
What a guy. I think what we'll do, Graham, after we wrap up at 1 o'clock, I think we'll let's me and you coordinate getting that interview back out there, sharing it with people. Let's get the link on there so people can donate. Let's just let people know the story, and even more, the people who haven't heard it. Lots of people have, but let's just get that out there, because, as you say, it's so easy to donate. And, we're not, like you said, we're not, you can't send things. They need you to send cash, and we can all do transfers and donate within a matter of seconds. So me and you will get our heads together after this, and we'll get a nice post out on LinkedIn, and we'll get all the information on and the story, and we'll keep pushing it at our end.
Well, I just want, but what I want to say is, I want to say this to anybody that's got any influence on LinkedIn right now, who has got a big following, it's not about your business right this minute. It really isn't about your business. And although, it's not for me to tell you that, but it isn't about your business, and it isn't about, making sure that you're the one that's covering something, or you're the one that's starting something, right? Ultimately, if all of us who have got a decent following on LinkedIn at the moment were pushing Chris, if all of us did it, then actually that would be well beyond 30,000 by now. Easy. Well beyond it. Yeah, that would be a lot of money. So, feel like a Bob Geldof moment coming on. I have to be careful. At Live Aid, when he was like, "Whoa."
Yeah,
he got so irate that they were trying to stop him talking about giving money, that
I mean, we know some great people on LinkedIn, Graham, who can help us, don't we? I know, and some of them already have. Some of the people we both tagged in on posts yesterday morning, I think, and we'll have another go at that. We'll have another big push this afternoon.
No, I mean, massive thanks to Lee Turner for actually getting that going, and raising so much money at the weekend. And as I say, anybody else that can put a voice in there that's got a decent following on LinkedIn at the moment, please do it. What we need to do is see some of the people from, like, Dragon's Den. Let's get some of the Dragon's Den people coming in. You're both. Oh yeah. Well, look, sometimes life, you need a Bob Geldof moment, right?
Yeah.
Because
absolutely.
Sometimes it just needs a little bit of passion, and people need to actually realize that it has to happen now. It's no good thinking about this and thinking, well, actually, maybe we'll do that next week. These people are coming over that border from the Ukraine into Moldova right this minute.
And that was the thing that really sort of brought it home to me from what Chris said, is they've got the resources there. He can go and procure pretty much what he needs to help those people. He just needs the cold, hard cash.
Yeah.
Which everyone can do within a matter of minutes. We'll get the link out. I don't know whether we can stick it up at the moment, Graham, but we'll put it in the comments. Simply go and donate that way. Chris will go and he's the man. He's the guy leading it out there. He will go and spend that on absolutely the right things to help those people.
Yeah. So little bit of a challenge to anyone in the ergonomics community, because obviously this is called Wow Ergonomics.
Yes,
fact,
absolutely.
Just to bring it back to brand, there we are. Is if you've got an ergonomics business, you may well be affected by this. You may even employ people in the Ukraine to do something for your business.
Yeah. Right.
Think how many software houses are out there in the Ukraine. I actually saw a post at the weekend from someone that owns a software house out in the Ukraine, and they were running through the streets because they were going to shelter, right? So you may be affected by this in some shape or form, because part of your you may even have components that come from that part of the world or whatever.
Absolutely.
you know, let's do something about it. If you can do something about it, give some money. If you've got access to freight and you can move, maybe you're a freight business and you've got access to freight that runs through Romania, etc. Well, you know, get in touch, get hold of Chris and let him know.
Yeah,
absolutely.
absolutely.
I mean, it sounds like the majority of the, as you say, the majority of the stuff that's required can be moved into Moldova, but that may run out. It depends. Yeah. It's so there you go. What a week. And you know, what a an awful situation that the world found it in at the moment. You know, as I say, on the one hand, COVID restrictions beginning to lift over here, which means that you get to go out next week.
Yeah.
This show next week, just changing the subject and lifting it
2
slightly.
weeks.
Or
2 weeks
time. Is it right?
2 weeks time.
2 weeks time. You're going to be live from the Health and Wellbeing show.
Yes,
right?
Health and Wellbeing at Work show, NEC,
Work show.
Tuesday the 15th, Wednesday the 16th. So yeah, I think we're planning to go live on Tuesday the 15th, and there'll be some of our ergonomic friends will be there. I'm sure we can drag them in and participate in the show. So
yes, good. Well, we'll fleece them from some money as well.
Absolutely.
Yeah. that will be it. Yeah, it's. I mean, in terms of other news in the last week, I can't think. I can even remember. Oh, there was one thing that I did post about.
Okay.
Which I did find quite inventive, and I'll just bring this up as a little bit of a cheery story for everybody. Which was, I agree. Absolutely, we do. I think it's affected everybody in the same way. But it was a news story, just to cover this one. It was a news story from a company in Wales. I don't know whether you saw this post. And what they've done is they've found a way of using nappies in road surfaces.
I think did you not talk to me about this? Was this in one of your posts?
It was in the post, yeah.
Yeah.
So all of those nappies that go to landfill at the moment, all of those, I don't know what you call them. Not artificial nappies, you know what I mean.
Disposable.
That's the word. Thank you. That was the word I was
disposable.
Racking my brain for. It's difficult when it gets so emotional, isn't it?
Yeah.
Disposable nappies, yeah. They're taking in disposable nappies and they're turning the fibre in that into little pellets, which is actually something at the moment which needs to be imported from abroad. But by using these nappies, they don't have to import it, so that's actually more sustainable anyway. And then those pellets then get added to bitumen to strengthen road surface.
Now, see, my thought when you think about nappy is it's going to be wrapped up and tied up in one of those little bags, isn't it? That smell nice, and you chuck them in the bin.
Yeah.
So, how are they collecting them?
They are all collected in those bags. So they then have to.
Okay.
They have to remove it all from. I mean, it must be a bit of a job.
Yeah.
But
insert your own word there. Yeah.
Yeah, bit of a job. But you know, it's great. What I liked about it is, and I guess, you know, this is where I picked up on it. Is that the fact that it was saying that we need more people to be a little bit more creative and a little bit more inventive, like that, especially around waste. Can we find other ways of doing stuff with waste that, you know, that means that it doesn't have to go to landfill?
It intrigues me with that one. When someone thought of that idea, I always think, why did no one think of it before? At what point did Joe Bloggs make that idea work? But no one else before then had thought about it.
Well, I suppose. Do you know what it was? It was probably a pub conversation. I always reckon that when these things happen, it's a pub conversation. And I reckon what it was that someone down the pub went, you know what? You know that stuff they put in road surfaces, right? that is, and a fascinating fact here, but that is the same fibre that you get in nappies. And it was probably overheard by this guy who went, really? Do you know? Well, funny, right? Because I've got a business where I make road surface material, right? And I'm having to import all of this stuff from abroad at the moment. What if I went to the Welsh government and said, can I get a grant to use disposable nappies?
Yeah, brilliant.
And I bet it was just like that. It's always a pub conversation.
Yeah.
You know, so for anyone that goes, why are you lot going down the pub at lunchtime for a business meeting? There you go. That's
Getting
why.
creative.
If people didn't go down the pub at lunchtime for a business meeting, these things would never happen. But that's my excuse anyway.
Yeah, that's your theory.
That's my theory, and I'm sticking to it.
Yeah.
No, I just think it could be like a random kind of accident thing like that. It's like the story of All Sorts. You know the story of All Sorts, don't you?
As in Bassett's All Sorts?
Yeah.
No, go on then.
The story of All Sorts was that it was a salesman for the company, and they used to have all of these licorice sweets on trays, and he was carrying these trays as a sample, and he took them to a client. He fell over, and they went all over the place. And as he was trying to pick them up, someone looked at it and went, well, that would sell.
Eureka.
And that was the moment. And from there on in, they just mixed all of them up. So they had them as separate sweets, but by mixing them up, they actually became more popular.
Brilliant.
It is. I mean, I'm sure half the things in business are an absolute accident.
Yeah.
Clearly not on, with Backer Elkheisen product. I'm sure.
Obviously, but
completely,
licorice-based sweets, absolutely.
Yeah, licorice-based sweets. Well, you don't know. Maybe even at Backer, there might have been something where once someone went, do you know what? Well, there was another one. It was on the TV the other day. That was, I don't know whether you saw it, but Chard was on the TV. That's where I'm based.
Yeah. It
was on the TV where they did, visit to the factory.
Oh.
And it was the pneumatic factory in Chard.
That's where they make the Henry Hoovers.
Correct. Yeah. Well, no, not Henry Hoover, because that would be.
Oh, yeah.
Henry Vacuum Cleaner.
Henry Vacuum Cleaner, sorry, yes.
Yeah. But what's a Henry got on the front of it? What's every Henry got on the front of it?
It's got a little picture, hasn't it?
It's got a smiley face, isn't it?
Yeah.
Yeah. Do you know where that came from?
Go on.
It was revealed at the thing. So they went to a trade show in the early days of it. They went to a trade show, and at the trade show, one of the guys on the stand was getting bored, as you do at trade shows. You know what it's like when you do trade shows. You know what it's like, standing around for hours with no one looking.
Yeah.
So he had a like Sharpie type pen, and he thought, I bet it would cheer people up if we actually drew a face on the front. So he drew a face on the front of it, and everybody came up to the stand and went, I want one of those.
Yeah.
And that was it. And now they mold it all, they injection mold or paint it on,
All because of a man and his Sharpie at a trade show.
Because you see, and that could have gone both ways, couldn't it? He could have got in real trouble.
Oh yeah.
Right? He could have got in real trouble. But instead, actually, he probably got promoted. That was probably him then. He was probably head of operations or something by the time he left. Well done, mate.
After you told me about that show, because you hadn't told me the full story, you told me some of that story. I did watch the Inside the Factory about 2 weeks ago, where it was the Heinz factory in Wigan, where they make beans.
Yeah.
And it was just phenomenal watching this. There's hardly anyone there. It's just this machinery. But the number of billions of cans that leave every year is unbelievable. And they keep something like, I want to say they keep enough material on site to make something like 2 billion. There's 2 billion cans worth of blanks or material constantly on site. I mean, it was just phenomenal when you saw it all being, this is just amazing. I mean, how did someone make, the ideas to make the machines to do all these things, and just how the can alone itself was built was phenomenal.
Always amazed by the sheer volumes with these factories. I mean, even even the pneumatic one, it was something like, tens of thousands of these things going out on a yearly basis or whatever. And you just think, well, how many people have got floors to hoover like that? I mean, but that's the point. And you think, well, and if you think if an average vacuum cleaner lasts X amount of years, then surely, it can only be so many, and there's so many different brands on the market, etc. So, but shows you all around the world, we all vacuum our floors.
Yeah,
and
but then of course you see the thing that people forget is you've got to think not just the houses, but it's the businesses. How many of the small businesses, how many of the offices and all that, and suddenly what you think is X number of million houses is probably 3 or 4 times that when you start adding the whole thing up. But it is phenomenal, how much of it sells. But then if you think on the flip side, going back to recycling, if all those people are buying something new, what are they doing with their old equipment?
Well, that's a really good question, isn't it? That's a really, really good question. Schools must end up with a lot of it.
Yeah,
I reckon, because my son's always coming home with something made out of junk from school.
Yeah.
I say that in the nicest possible way.
Yeah.
But he's always coming home with something made out of junk from school, and I think, thanks, school.
Here's the question, and I'm thinking this because I've got 2 items down over my shoulder here that my son, I'm going a bit quieter because he's off today because it's a teacher training day. What do you do with that stuff they build?
I know, you've got to get rid of it slyly, haven't you?
It's a tricky one, isn't it? Do you leave it for a couple of weeks, and if they show no interest, that's when you put it in the bin?
I think what we need here is a situation a bit like, at Christmas, where when they want their Christmas presents, and they write off to Father Christmas, and you put it in the fire.
Yeah.
And you tell them that if they put the letter in the fire, that goes off to Father Christmas. I think we need to develop a similar situation.
Bear with me. I'll just go and get one of these said items.
Yeah. No, I think that's exactly what you want. There we go. Henry Hoovers are good. Well, it's Henry vacuum cleaner. Yeah, good. Also, using my kitchen floors are wooden, but to clean the filter is horrible. There you go. We can talk to them about that. There's all right. Hello. What's that? An air raid shelter?
What's called an Anderson shelter.
Anderson shelter, yeah. Except, look, it's got no door, Stephen. How'd you get in it?
Hang on.
Oh, it does open. Hello. All right.
Hang on.
Yeah. It's good, actually, though, isn't it?
Real grass.
Real grass, yeah.
But let's be honest, it's got to go at some point, hasn't it? I mean, it's been here about 3 weeks.
Do you remember on this show a while back, where the last time you did a live from somewhere, right? And that you were in Farringdon area, weren't you?
Yes, Clerkenwell. Yeah.
And you were showing me screens with moss and stuff on them.
Yeah.
Well, it's not too dissimilar, is it? Really?
No.
Maybe
they should have been put in the bin.
Well, maybe you could get your son a job with them. I mean, maybe you could send that off as a demo model.
Yeah,
that could be some kind of new meeting pod they could do with grass on the outside.
I think it's whatever colour it is. Is it the grey or the black bin? The general rubbish goes tomorrow, so at some point that will be being.
Well, discarded. I don't know. I mean, one of the things you could do, especially as it's a little bit damp at the moment, is you could take it out in the garden and encourage him to play with it in the garden with, or say that, see whether birds go in it or something. And then when it gets all soggy or whatever, you say, oh, it's going to have to go away now.
Yeah.
I don't know. But yeah, I think my idea of, developing something for every parent in the country, maybe a special day in the year where we say, if you burn these things, that it brings about a treat, and then give them a sweet or something.
Yeah.
Turn it into a special day, like everybody else has turned everything else into a special day. And
the problem you get is the savvy ones, like my son. They want V-Bucks. Do you know what that is? V-Bucks.
No, what's that?
Where they play Fortnite. And if you give them V-Bucks, they can buy extra weapons and things like that. So everything now isn't cash. It's, can I have some V-Bucks? It's virtual pocket money.
Virtual pocket money.
Doesn't want the hard cash. Wants the V-Bucks.
I have seen that, you know, these credit cards now that you give kids.
Yeah.
You know, they seem to be a thing now, aren't they?
Yeah.
Credit cards, you give kids, you put so much money on them, and then they can actually go and spend them in shops like credit cards. I think that's an awful idea. Sorry, anyone that actually runs that as a business, but you know, that's just encouraging. That's just encouraging. I kind of get it. Maybe at a certain age, it's a good idea.
Yeah.
But I normally think that by the age that I would actually entrust my child to have a debit card or whatever, they're probably at the age where they can get a proper debit card. Before that, you know, is it not just encouraging people, youngsters, to spend on plastic? I just don't know.
Sugar, sweets, that's all they'll go and do.
Yeah, or toys.
Yeah.
Sugar or toys. But, you know, to me, it's kind of encouraging that, oh, I just do that and then I get something.
Yeah.
To me, there's something about actually having to earn hard cash.
Yeah.
And then actually, you know, saving it up and counting it. And, you know, that's what we had to do. We used to have to save hard cash, you know, and you know, you had a piggy bank, and actually you felt kind of bad about taking it out the piggy bank as well, because then the piggy bank's empty. I mean, all of those things were kind of drove you to thinking about being, you know, more resourceful with your money. And nowadays it's like, well, you know, just give it to you on that, and then all you got to do is swipe the, you know. I just think we might, if we're not careful, we'll have a generation of youngsters growing up just like, just put it on another card and another one, and soon, you know, the whole world's in debt.
Well,
anyway.
Did we not touch on this before about entitlement and all that sort of stuff? Just giving people instant access to things. So, yeah.
With you on that, yeah, earn your money, absolutely, completely there. And talking about money, Sarah, I hope you saw Chris at the beginning of the show. If you didn't, what I would like to encourage anyone is that as part of this program, we had Chris Lomas on talking basically from the front line. Or it's more the back line, but it's from Moldova, where refugees are coming in from the Ukraine, and the work that they're doing out there that has been supported already by the people of LinkedIn. So please, whilst I discourage young people from of a certain age from getting their credit card out and actually flashing it about, if anybody of a certain age who's on this platform now wants to do that, that would be marvelous.
Absolutely.
So we will leave you shortly, and we will put in the comments the donation box, or the link to the donation box where you can actually leave some money for Chris and help the people from the Ukraine who are coming into Moldova. Next week, I think things will resume. We probably have the game again. I know we've got guests on again next week, but we felt it was so important to give that time to Chris today.
Absolutely.
Hear about what's going on out there, and please do continue to support him. Wouldn't it be great if we could raise £100,000 as a LinkedIn community? That when you think about the number of people that are on LinkedIn,
it's not that much, is it?
That is small fry. That's incredibly small fry.
I mean, Graham, I'm not as widespread on LinkedIn as you, but I've got 3,000 followers. If they all gave a pound,
that's $3,000.
And there's people out there with 30, 40, 50,000 followers.
Yeah. Honestly, it would be although it's a great achievement what's been achieved over the weekend, and it is a great achievement. Just think we could really easily raise $100,000 on here. We really could. And
I think it's the kickstart we needed. What Leah did was fantastic. It's a kickstart to get that up to a bigger number.
Just press rewind on this, Sarah. You'll see it. It's definitely right near the beginning. Chris, you'll be in tears. As well, we nearly. So there we go. Right, we're going to leave you. We'll be back again next week. A very different Wow. If you're listening to this on Spotify, thanks for doing so. Just remember, I'm also going to put the link to donate on Spotify as well, so people know where to do. I've also put the link on the Wow Ergonomics website, which is wowergonomics.com. It's going to go in as many places as possible. Maybe we can even get Backer to put it on the website somewhere. I don't know.
I will ask the question.
Yeah, let's see.
Yeah,
we might be able to spread this. I mean, again, if we could get as many ergonomic providers to actually put it on their websites, that would be great.
Of course.
Thanks for joining, everybody. See you soon.
See you next week.
Bye for now.